Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today we've got more new parts going into the old WRX here, and it is a very special video. This is my very first sponsored video. Today's video is sponsored by SpeedQuest. They were able to source me the parts for today's video. If you are in the Tampa, St. Pete area, North Tampa area, and you need work done to your Subaru, I highly recommend this shop. I've only heard just incredible things. It is called SpeedQuest. I believe they're in Newport Richie. Check it out, speedquest.com, and I will link that below as well. They do everything from freaking engine builds to just sorting out your vehicle, getting it trek ready, and all that good stuff. So, absolutely check that out. Highly recommend. They have done previous work to this car before me owning it. But yeah, check them out, link below, all that good stuff. All right, so this part we've got going in today is basically a dash bezel, goes over your gauge cluster, and it allows you to input 2 additional 52 millimeter gauges. Now, there's actually a lot of good spots to put gauges in this car. Like, you can eliminate the little LCD light, not light, but clock up on top of your dash and put 3 additional gauges there. But I saw this at SubiFest. So shout out to ABDY Media on Instagram. I actually ended up finding the owner, but he had his bug eyes set up at the BC Coils booth, and it was just the coolest bug eye ever seen. It's a silver one, just heavily modified with a lot of great JDM options, and I believe this dash cluster also was a JDM option. But I found a couple aftermarket pieces that remanufactures this, and yeah, I absolutely love the way it looks. I found some, and so for the gauges I'll be putting into it are from ProSport. Yeah, the look. I found some ProSport gauges, which I believe are just basically rebranded Glow Shift gauges, which is just a really cheap Chinese brand, but I was actually considering those just because they have that look that I'm going for. I'm trying to keep that red amber color from the STI cluster into the gauges as well, and I came across this company that turned out to be local in St. Pete, so that's cool. Always down to support local companies. And so first up here, I'm going to do a quick unboxing of this bezel as well as the ProSport gauges. And yeah, let's get started on that. Cannot wait to open these up. I've checked them out briefly, but yeah, looking forward to this install. Let's do it. All right, so I've got the gauge bezel here. Basically just connects right into your normal gauge cluster, and you just pop in the new gauges. Pretty freaking cool. You still have full visibility of your stock gauge cluster. And here I've got the ProSport gauges. Let's go ahead and open these up, shall we? Definitely dig the packaging. Nice, clean. I don't believe they're that small of a company. Just what I've been told about them, they used to be very popular. This will be the boost gauge, and basically they're very dark until the lights come on. These specific gauges, basically it's a white light during the day and it's supposed to be an amber red at night. However, I think I'm just going to connect the amber lighting as I am trying to match the stock STI red color. So this would be the oil temp gauge. Yeah, not too bad. Also, I purchased through ProSport while I was looking this up is they have a nice sandwich plate available, and I'll be able to tap in the oil temp sensor into this. I wasn't really planning on changing the oil just yet, but well, I do need to put this temp sensor in for it to work. So I got that as well, and I think these gauges were fairly cheap. I think $40 for one and $70 for the other, something like that. The whole total came out to about $130, so not terrible. Let's go ahead and get the rest of this out of here. And this gauge itself came with the sensor needed. as a temp sensor and the wiring, as well as a harness. And it came with this as well. It looks like I could possibly put these in place. I'll see if I want to go that route or if I need to or not. Most likely not going to be needed. But, yeah. Take the rest of this out here. Yeah. It also came with like a PVC hose kit for the boost, but I already have a boost line ran into the boost gauge currently in the car, which isn't really the best looking. But let's go take a look in the car and show you what my current setup looks like. Alright, so the current setup in the car looks like so. Go ahead and power this on here. Yeah, nice red amber look. Don't mind the check engine light. It has to do with the 5 to 6 speed wiring harness conversion. But so I also got a new steering column cover from Max Strager, I believe his name is. Found him on Facebook, and huge shout out to him. I've got a bunch of just random parts that this car needed, like the vent here is missing the little dial, and I got this cover and a couple other small miscellaneous pieces. Basically, dude just parts out Subarus and sells parts. So if you need parts, I do recommend them. But yeah, let's go ahead and start taking this out, shall we? I believe there's just 2 small screws in the top here, and then it should just pop right out. But we'll see how that goes. All right. So I got a screwdriver up here, and it feels like there actually are no, there's a screw on this side, but not the other side. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and get the stubby. All right, stubby to save the day, I wanna say. I swear, this thing is just the best. If you don't have a stubby, get yourself a stubby. There we go. I love how many screws are just randomly missing from this car. It happens. This is a 20-year-old car. Yeah, after that, it basically just comes out. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and take this off as well. So, this steering column cover is in the worst shape. It's got a crack down the middle here, and it is literally held on by electrical tape in the back, which is super sick. Yeah. So, go ahead and just pull the damn tape off here. Yes. And I feel like there's no real bolts. Yeah, there's nothing holding that together. They are absolutely broken off. Okay. All right, excellent. I absolutely did not record sound for this part of the video, so here we are. Yes, as you see, I have my Dremel cutting tool here. I was trying to input the gauges into the bezel here, but the wiring in the back wouldn't fit through the bezel, so I had to make just some minor adjustments. Not a big deal. Gonna go ahead and put these suckers on in here. And you can see the little rubber bands around the outside the bezel I have there. Oops, dropped that. I believe you wrap those around the inside the gauges in order to make them fit, but oh yes, it was the mounting screws on the back of the gauges that didn't want to fit with the bezel. Again, not a big deal. I just did a little bit of cutting, and I was able to make that fit just fine. Alright, so I've got the gauges in place in the bezel. I've got the vacuum tube hooked up onto the back of the boost gauge. So the next part of this video will be wiring. Funnest part, isn't it? It can be so tedious. So I've gone ahead and looked up the wiring diagram that came with the gauges. It's all fairly simple. So basically the boost gauge has about 4 wires here, and only 3 will be used. Black ground power goes to the accessory wire, And then I'm only going to use an orange cable. I'm not going to use the white. Like I was saying earlier, basically these gauges have two different functions. During the daytime, it can run as a white light, and on the nighttime, it can switch to an orange or amber, red. So I'm only going to run the red as I wanted to match the SDI gauges. So I am only going to connect the orange wire. And the oil temp sensors is about the same thing. It has 5 wires, whereas the green one will go to the oil temp sensor that is run below. I'll only be using the orange. So the way I plan on powering these wires is I actually have a few existing wire taps going to the fuse box here. So I already have a few fuse tap wires going to the fuse box. I'm going to probably open up, redo, and just plug in these two constant accessory power wires. And I'll probably also use my existing ground wire I've been using on the side of the dash here as well. So the wires coming from the boost are significantly shorter than the ones going to this. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just tap them into these wires coming from the oil temp sensor. And yeah, I think it should work. I keep on hitting this parking light here. I've got a parking light in these cars. Basically, it only lights up just a simple rear and front lights. It's kind of interesting. I think it's a real JDM thing to do, but I've definitely never seen that on any of my previous vehicles, so I don't know. So I want to run these so they won't be shown, but I don't want them to be in the freaking way. Like I said before, I don't need to run the white wire at all. As far as mounting these gauges goes, the bezel here came with like these rubber bands, these black rubber bands that were just kind of stuck around the front end here, and you just wrap them around the gauges and just slowly twist it in. Yeah, super simple. They're not going to come out. So like they're not really screwed into anything, but they are secure. Pretty cool. Alright, so I've got these 3 wires I'll be using. And basically the orange and the red wire, I'm just going to run together because they're both going to the same accessory. And the black one, I'll be having going to ground. Yeah. So I'm still thinking in my head exactly how I want to run these. I have these, and then I have the harness for the oil temp sensor. As far as my choice in these gauges goes, I was kind of going back and forth between doing an oil pressure sensor or an oil temp sensor. Maybe I should have went for the pressure sensor because I think it might be more beneficial just to see if something is wrong, if you're losing oil pressure. But like I don't really take this to the track. I'm hoping I'm not going to have any issues, and if I am, then I'm probably going to be able to hear it happen. But yeah, this is mostly street driven, and basically I'm told that one of the most important things of these cars is bringing up to temp. And so, of course, the only real temp sensor you have is the water temp, which I'm also told isn't very accurate, right? So I would much rather watch the oil temp just to make sure it's all up to temp before I really start driving hard. So that was my was kind of what was in my head for the decision of these 2 gauges. I just knew that I really wanted to fix the hub cover here because it was just absolutely well, it's cracked and it has a shitty little gauge. It didn't have any lights on it at night for the boost. Yeah. So, yeah. So on the bottom here is where I have my fuse taps. And I don't know, I might go ahead and show you all that as well. I'm probably going to go ahead and run these wires from the oil temp down through the steering column hub and behind this section here, which honestly I could just go ahead and pull out as well. I believe there's a pin here and a screw down here. Just a couple things really holding it in place. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do that real quick, and I'll show you the outcome once it's done. All right, so far so good with the gauge project. So I've got all the wires run from both gauges, all nice neatly tucked behind the new bezel, coming through here and heading towards the fuse box. I had to run a bit of extra line from the boost cable since it was such short wires with it. And I'll basically tie these together with the ground and the power with the orange and red wire. And I'll be tapping those into this little handy dandy wire tap. I'll have a link in the description below if you need something like this. These have been super freaking handy. Basically, they just tap directly into a fuse. You'll have your fuses on top of that, and hey, put your wire in. I have not had one fail on me yet. So, also I went ahead and I'm going to be tapping into the radio fuse. I figured that was just a pretty basic accessory port I could tap these into. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this up and show you the final results. Yeah, with a question mark there. All right, let's do it. All right, y'all ready for this? So I will say I'm a little bit annoyed by one thing, and you might notice right off the bat, but they start up at different times. But overall, damn, that looks really good. They are in fact amber and not red. Fair enough, but I mean the difference is so little, and I mean being that it's a little closer to you, that's not such a bad thing. But yeah, I mean shit, they're the same brand gauges. You would think that they would start up at the same time. Yeah. No. Overall, hell, you know, you start everything up and you're out driving, and it's not going to make much of a difference. But definitely a cool look. I'm going to go ahead and get some more shots of this, get everything cleaned up. But they work! Yes. Cannot wait to take it for a ride. See how that PSI gauge works. Still need to, of course, hook up the oil temp and connect the sandwich plate, but not a big deal. So, let me go ahead and button this up. And hell, let's take some driving videos. It is pretty late right now, so I'll most likely do that tomorrow. But stay tuned. Toe action. Let's get it. All the fun, all the right noises. Absolute blast. So this is my WRX STI swapped. And it's all the fun. About to give one solid blast down the home stretch here. Made a nice third pull, so I've got the bezel all installed. I've got the ProSport gauges installed as well. Of course, this car is going to pull out in front of me, which is just exactly what I wanted, right? So we're on down a bit, boys. Alright, let's do it in first. Oh,
no, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Jesus. Well, that didn't fucking work. Idiot.